Opening line hook for episode 10, I closed the book on Marcus Aurelius, but what I found wasn't an ending. It was a mirror, reflecting the unfinished battle within me. This is not the conclusion of wisdom, but the beginning of a relentless journey to become the emperor of my own mind. Episode 1, The Emperor with No Armor. He ruled the world. But couldn't he silence his own mind? I picked up Meditations the way most people pick up a self-help book, to get answers. To fix something. To feel better. I didn't know I was holding a battlefield. I expected gold-leafed wisdom from the most powerful man in the world, Marcus Aurelius, last of the good emperors. I pictured marble columns, godlike calm, and the kind of stoic strength that silences doubt with a single breath. But from the very first page, all of that shattered. What I found wasn't confidence. It was confession. Marcus didn't sound like a god. He sounded like a man trying not to drown. Not a ruler. A witness to his own decay. Don't waste time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's not advice. That's a warning. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He wasn't preaching. He was begging himself to remember. And I had to ask myself something I wasn't ready for. Why would the most powerful man in the world need to write this to himself? Why would an emperor, leader of Rome, commander of armies, philosopher, king have to remind himself daily not to be cruel, not to lose patience, not to chase vanity, unless power didn't protect him? It exposed him. And suddenly I saw it. Meditations wasn't a triumph. It was a shield. A desperate one. Marcus didn't write these words to teach the world. He wrote them because he was afraid of becoming the very thing he ruled. He wasn't writing to inspire me. He was writing to survive himself. That's when I realized this wasn't a book. It was a mirror. And the person staring back at me wasn't a Roman emperor. It was someone far more dangerous, me. Without armor. Episode 2, Control is the first illusion. The tighter I gripped, the more everything slipped through my fingers. I went into meditations like I had gone into most things in life, with a plan. A checklist. A need to master it. I'd highlight, underline, summarize. I'd extract the Stoic secrets, weaponize them, and march forward as a stronger, wiser, more disciplined version of myself. But Marcus had other plans. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. At first, it sounded simple, comforting even. Like a spiritual safety net. I don't control the world, but I control how I respond. Right, but as I sat with it, something darker uncoiled beneath the words. A truth I didn't want to face. I don't control anything. Not how I'm seen. Not what happens tomorrow. Not even my own thoughts, not entirely. That principle, you control your mind, not events, should have felt empowering. Instead, it felt like a diagnosis. Because I realized, I built my identity around control. I controlled how hard I worked. How I dressed. How I presented myself online. I curated my life like a storefront, always polished, always open for validation. But Stoicism isn't a philosophy of polish. It's a philosophy of exposure. And once I looked closer, I saw it everywhere. I didn't help people because it was right. I helped them because it made me feel in control of my worth. I didn't plan my days to be present. I planned them to dominate time, to bend it around my anxiety. I didn't let go of outcomes. I obsessed over them, then called it discipline. The truth hit hard, my obsession with control was the very thing controlling me. The irony: Marcus Aurelius ruled over millions of people. I can't even rule over one comment on a post without spiraling. And yet here he was begging himself to release his grip, while I was still trying to white-knuckle my way through life. That was the first real crack in the illusion. I thought control was strength. But Marcus had lived it and he knew the truth. Control is the first illusion. And letting go is the first freedom. Episode 3, Praise is Poison. I thought I was helping others. I was just feeding myself. By episode 3, I thought I had made progress. I had accepted the truth about control, or so I claimed. But I was still clinging to something far more seductive. Something I never thought Stoicism would question. Praise. Validation. Being a good person. Marcus writes, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. Be indifferent to what makes no difference." And then later, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." That last part caught me. Be good. Yes. I thought. That's what I do. I help people. I support my friends. I give advice. I try to be kind, compassionate, useful. I am good. But Marcus doesn't say, be liked. He doesn't say, be celebrated. He says, be good. Without decoration. Without performance. And for the first time, I saw the fracture in my own virtue. Because if I was being honest, I helped others, but I noticed who thanked me. I gave advice, but I liked when they said, "Wow, you're so wise." I worked hard, but it meant more when someone said, "You're different." I didn't want to admit it, but I had to. My goodness had a price tag. And the currency was applause. I had weaponized kindness. Turned generosity into strategy. Made virtue transactional and then called it character. And that's what Marcus was trying to kill. Not morality. The ego that feeds on being seen as moral. Because in his world, you could be surrounded by flatterers, liars, traitors, and opportunists. You had to do the right thing not because it would be noticed, but because it wouldn't. He was emperor. Everyone around him had to praise him. So the only voice he could trust was his own, and I realized, I've spent years chasing something Marcus tried every day to silence. Praise isn't purpose. It's a drug. A trap. A slow drip poison that makes you perform instead of live. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. You can commit injustice by doing nothing. When another blames you or hates you, look inside. These weren't quotes. They were indictments. So no, I wasn't the good person I thought I was. I was just well behaved. And deeply addicted to approval. Episode 4, The Mirror of Suffering. I thought I had healed. I had only hidden the wound better. By now, I had accepted a few hard truths. I wasn't in control. I wasn't as virtuous as I claimed. But I still believed I had strength. Resilience. Grit. The ability to endure, to move on. I had been through pain. I had made peace with it. Right? Marcus writes, if it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. That fire metaphor hit something in me. I remembered the breakup. The betrayal. The loss. The sleepless nights I drowned in productivity. I thought I had thrown those events into the fire, and turned them into fuel. But something felt wrong. Because the more I sat with Principle 7 endurance is nobility, the more I realized I hadn't endured. I had escaped. I didn't sit with pain. I buried it beneath to-do lists. I didn't process grief. I rebranded it as focus. I didn't face the hurt. I sprinted past it and told myself I was resilient. But Stoicism doesn't give out medals for endurance. It demands proof. And when I looked honestly beneath the accomplishments, beneath the mask, I found a quiet ache still pulsing. Unresolved. Unspoken. That's when I understood Marcus wasn't trying to be tough. He was trying to stay human. He didn't say, don't feel pain. He said, feel it and then act according to reason. Not impulse. Not revenge. Not avoidance. And that's where I failed. I thought healing meant never crying again. Marcus knew healing meant facing pain with eyes open, every time. Because pain isn't the enemy. Avoiding pain is. Pain is neither unbearable nor unending, as long as you remember its limits and don't magnify it in your imagination. This wasn't philosophy. It was surgery. He wasn't telling me to be brave. He was daring me to look at the wound and stop calling it a scar. That was the twist I didn't see coming. Stoicism doesn't kill pain. It removes the story you've built around it. And once the story dies, you're left with the truth. I wasn't healed. I was just really good at pretending I was. Episode 5, The Ego's Last Stand. I called it drive. Marcus called it delusion. By now, I was starting to see through my illusions: control, praise, false resilience. But there was one voice I still trusted. One story I refused to question. Ambition. The need to be someone. To leave a legacy. To matter. Marcus Aurelius was emperor. If anyone had a right to feel important, it was him. And yet, in the middle of commanding legions and running an empire, he wrote, "Soon you will have forgotten all things, soon all things will have forgotten you." I read it 3 times. I wanted to reject it. Because if that was true, if even he would be forgotten, then what was I doing? Why was I pushing so hard? Why was I obsessed with proving myself, perfecting my craft, climbing invisible ladders? I told myself it was purpose. But Marcus saw through that. Don't waste what's left of your life chasing other people's praise, or your own reflection in the mirror of history. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't chasing purpose. I was chasing permanence. I didn't want to live meaningfully. I wanted to live memorably. I wasn't building a life. I was building a statue, one I hoped others would bow to long after I was gone. That's not virtue. That's ego wearing a halo. And it terrified me. Because I'd been fueled by it for so long. The voice that said, work harder. Be more. Don't stop until you're undeniable. That voice didn't care about peace. Or values. Or presence. It cared about being remembered. And in Stoicism, that's not a virtue. That's a sickness. Marcus was emperor of the known world, and he begged himself every day to shrink his ego. To remember he was dust. A blink. A speck in the turning of the universe. And I, this anonymous modern nobody, was out here trying to be eternal. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This was the episode where the lie bled out in the open. I wasn't guided by purpose. I was addicted to significance. And the hardest part, that voice still lives in me. It still whispers. It still fights. but now I see it. And the moment you see the ego clearly, it begins to die. Episode 6, Death Enters the Room. I always thought I had time until I realized time was never mine to begin with. This is the part of the journey where everything slows down. Where the noise of achievement, praise, and performance goes silent. Because death walked in. And it didn't knock. It wasn't dramatic. No car crash. No tragic event. Just a moment quiet, ordinary, where my body gave me a warning. A skipped heartbeat. A sudden dizziness. A test result that used words like monitoring, follow-up, and urgent. I wasn't dying. Not yet. But for the first time, I realized I was absolutely going to. And that's when Marcus struck. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. He wrote those words not as poetry, but as instructions. Because he knew something I had spent years avoiding: death doesn't wait until you're finished. It just arrives. All my somedays collapsed in that moment. Someday I'd slow down. Someday I'd call the people I miss. Someday I'd take that trip, write that letter, forgive that person. And I saw the lie in every one of them. There is no someday. There is only now and not anymore. I read Marcus like a man clinging to clarity before the lights go out. What dies does not vanish, it changes. Remember how long you've been putting things off, how many extensions the gods gave you, and you didn't use them. That line, "you didn't use them," stabbed. Because it was true. I hadn't wasted my life with drugs or crime or chaos. I wasted it in the most socially acceptable way possible, with busyness. With postponement. With pretending I was immortal. And then the twist I never saw coming: Marcus wasn't afraid of death. He was afraid of not living rightly before it came. Not living with integrity. Not speaking what needed to be said. Not becoming who he was meant to be before he vanished like smoke. I looked around. At my home. My phone. My goals. They suddenly felt like paper in a storm. None of them would protect me. None of them would follow me. All that would remain was what I was when I died. Not what I owned. Not what I achieved. But who I was at the core when the curtain dropped. And for the first time in my life, I understood what urgency meant. Not panic. Not hustle. But awareness. Every second is slipping. Every heartbeat is a non-refundable ticket. And every breath might be the last page of my own meditations. Episode 7, Betrayed by Comfort. I turned to Stoicism for relief, only to find it offered no comfort at all. After confronting death's quiet knock, I thought I'd found a refuge in Stoicism. A philosophy that promised calm in chaos. That whispered, endure. Accept. Find peace. I was desperate for peace. I craved comfort like a drowning man clings to air. So I opened Meditations expecting balm for my soul. Instead, I found fire. Marcus didn't offer consolation. He didn't sugarcoat life's brutal truths. He said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. I thought Stoicism would soften suffering. Make hardship easier. But it did the opposite. It tore away the excuses, the soft lies I told myself to feel safe. Comfort wasn't safety. It was a cage. A betrayal. I realized I had been using comfort like a shield, avoiding hard conversations, delaying tough decisions, numbing pain with distractions. And Marcus was calling me out, don't act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. The things you see are moments passing. Those words hit like a slap. The comfort I chased wasn't peace, it was denial. I was betraying myself by hiding in ease. By pretending discomfort was optional. By avoiding the storm instead of learning to sail through it. Stoicism doesn't promise relief from pain. It promises clarity amid pain. It strips away all the fluff and forces you to face life as it is, harsh, unforgiving, beautiful in its truth. And the deepest betrayal, I realized I had been using comfort to betray my own growth, to betray the work Marcus demanded daily, relentlessly, without pause. Episode 8, The Trap of Virtue. I thought I was living right. Marcus showed me I was just playing safe. By this point, I was desperate to believe I was becoming better, more virtuous, more aligned with my values. I clung to the idea that living according to nature principle 15 meant being good, moral, heroic. But Stoicism pulled back the curtain on a harsh truth: nature does not reward the compliant. It rewards the resilient. I realized I had confused virtue with convenience. I was following the rules, but only the easy ones. Being good meant avoiding conflict, steering clear of hard truths, and fitting in with the crowd. I was compliant, not courageous. Marcus wasn't telling me to be safe. He was daring me to be uncomfortable. To stand alone if necessary. To choose what's right even when it's costly. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Those words landed like a verdict. I had been arguing, debating, postponing action under the guise of thinking it through. But Marcus demanded action. Not debate. Not approval. Action. And real virtue, it looked less like applause and more like loneliness. More like sacrifice. More like the quiet pain of standing apart from the comfortable crowd. I saw myself in the mirror not as a hero but as someone too afraid to lose face. Someone hiding behind the mask of virtue without the courage to face the consequences. The biggest twist: true virtue isn't the easy path. It's the one that forces you to burn bridges. To lose friends. To risk everything for what you believe. Marcus didn't write for the crowd. He wrote for the one who dared to be alone. Episode 9, The Emperor is Me. The great emperor wasn't just a distant figure in history, he was a mirror reflecting my own failures. Up until now, Marcus Aurelius had been this monumental figure, an emperor commanding legions, a philosopher shaping empires. I admired him from afar, like a statue carved in marble, untouchable and perfect. But then, suddenly, the distance disappeared. I read one principle after another and realized, this isn't a philosophy written for kings or heroes. It's a diagnosis and I'm the patient. Every command, every reminder, every brutal truth was aimed not at some mythic other, but at me. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest. That voice in the book became my own inner critic. The same one I'd been avoiding by drowning in distractions. And the hardest truth crashed down: I hadn't failed despite Marcus' wisdom. I had failed because I hadn't lived it. I wasn't applying these principles. I was using them as intellectual armor, admiring them, quoting them, but never letting them reshape my soul. The emperor's mirror shattered, and I saw myself clearly, a flawed, frightened human, hiding behind philosophy rather than embodying it. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. I had been arguing. Arguing with myself. With the world. With the limits life set, Marcus demanded a reckoning. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. The shocking twist: the emperor wasn't he someone else. The emperor was me. Episode 10, the final page. I closed the book, but the journey was just beginning. I finished Meditations. No fireworks. No sudden revelation lighting up the sky. Just silence. The emperor's words didn't offer easy solutions or final peace. They offered something harder, a challenge. Not to understand Marcus, but to write my own meditations. Every day. In every choice. In every moment. Because the truth Marcus Aurelius lived and died by was this: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Life is messy, chaotic, painful. But it's also a blank page waiting for us to write on. The real power isn't in wisdom handed down by emperors. It's in the courage to face ourselves honestly. To battle the ego, the fear, the comfort that chains us. To live not distracted, but awake. To die not regretting, but knowing we fought for what mattered. The final twist: this isn't a conclusion. It's a beginning. The meditations are unfinished. Because we are. The emperor's mirror is never polished. It's cracked and worn just like us. And every day, we get to choose: will we keep staring at our broken reflection, or will we finally start living as the emperors of our own minds?